Dwight Eisenhower became a great president through the war. Winston Churchill was a lousy prime minister until World War II showed up. It's amazing that President Bush was not even sure he won until 9/11. Crisis is an incredible thing. It'll make you find depths of potential you never knew you had. I remember as a kid growing up in the Bahamas, we were living in the low-income part of our country, and there was a lady living behind us. There was a fence between our yard and her yard. It's a very tall fence, and we used to jump over that fence to go and steal her mangoes. Yes, I used to thief. I used to steal. These righteous people in this country never stole. Anyhow, we used to jump over the fence, little kids, to steal mangoes. And one day, she had dogs, and we used to check to make sure they were tied. And then we would jump the fence and steal the mangoes. One day, we went to get our mangoes. And we didn't know that the dogs were loosed. And all of a sudden, we heard barking. We turned around, and there they were. And they headed toward us. I looked at that fence, and I said, no human could jump that fence. But today, today, I feel some special anointing in my feet. Ladies and gentlemen, I found myself on the other side. To this day, I don't know how I did that. It's amazing how pressure will make you perform. Crisis can bring things out of you never knew. Some of you survived a divorce and thought you'd never make it this far. And that experience has driven you into starting your own business, maybe. Or developing some things you never thought you could develop. It's amazing how out of crisis can bring tremendous revelation of your true strength. True leaders are not gifts. They are results. Why is that so important? People think that leadership is a gift. It's not. It's a product of a process. Anytime you meet somebody who claim to be a leader, but they have no history, don't trust them. Because true leaders always have a story. This is why you should never be jealous of great people. Because you don't know what they went through to get where they are. And don't ever believe you can do what they're doing as if you think it's that easy. They got a story. That's why true leaders do not wear their medals on their chests. They wear them on their backs. Scars. Never trust a man or woman without a history. Ask them where they came from. Find out how they got where they are. Ask them to tell you their story. We admire people like Abraham Lincoln. We admire people like Martin Luther King Jr. We admire people like St. Teresa. But we don't understand their stories too well. So whatever you're going through right now is creating you into a big, massive, powerful influence. So pass your test and stop complaining. You're on your way to becoming a great leader. Someone said to me recently, a publisher came to me, he says, we'd like to write your autobiography. I told them, I'm not qualified yet. I'm not finished yet. I'm still working on my story. Leadership is a result, not a gift. Let me just comment on this one more time. Okay, let me give you a little understanding of this. You know that the first man that God created, his problem was, and God recognized it afterwards, He was created an adult. I want you to think about it now. This guy had no parents, no history, no experience, no growth development, no transition in education. The guy was instant. That's why his brain had no activity. God told him, name the animals. Why? The guy never used his brain. His willpower was never tested. So God told him, eat from all the trees, but don't touch that one. I want to activate your power of choice. So when he was tested or tempted, he had no experience to fall on. He couldn't relate the temptation to any past instances. So he was destroyed the first time. His name was Adam, which means dark earth, by the way. So when God decided to send the second Adam, he said, this time, this one gonna be born. Clap. This one will be born, and this one will have parents, and he will grow in wisdom, in stature, and in favor with God, and in favor with man, social life, physical life, spiritual development. And he will learn obedience by the things he suffers. Leadership is never instant. And this is why there's so much failure in leadership, especially in the church. Because we keep promoting people quickly as stars. Sometimes the guilty party is not the person who fell, but those who placed them there. The Apostle Paul was talking about leadership one time, and he said, Timothy, if you want to choose leaders, first of all, do not choose a novice. For they've not been tested yet, he says. Results. Now, leadership is manifested through two main sources. And that's why I'm happy for this conference and many more that will come to this great community, because we need to have more of these conferences. Conferences on leadership. Here's why. The two ways that leadership is manifested, the first one is through crisis and circumstances. If you study all the great leaders in history, most of them became leaders through crisis. But here's another thing to remember. Most of the leaders, even in the Caribbean, are products of crisis. If you study the leaders who founded this nation, it was crisis that birthed Trinidad. And almost every nation in the world is birthed through crisis. The early leaders of our countries, for example, they were forced to be leaders because they had to deal with oppression, colonialism, and they wanted to throw off something. They didn't sit down and say, well, I'm going to be a leader, so I'm going to take a course in leadership so I can become a leader. No, they didn't even think about being leaders. They just wanted to deal with a circumstance. Nelson Mandela never took a course in leadership. He's just a lawyer. But circumstances made him a leader. Mother Teresa never took a course in leadership, but she was under circumstances